So there's been some interesting chatter regarding Sturm, one of the boss characters in the new Resident Evil Village. Dutch filmmaker Richard Raaphorst has publicly accused Capcom of essentially helping themselves to a character from his 2013 horror movie Frankenstein's Army. He notes the very suspicious similarities between his character and not just the design of Sturm, but also the method with which the villain is defeated. Now, I'm not going to describe the characters out loud here, just in case your hands are stuck in the washing up bowl while you listen to a YouTube playlist and you find yourself unable to turn off the video. But if you are somehow watching this video and you don't want spoilers for Resident Evil Village, look away now. Yep, there they are. Pretty similar indeed. Okay, you can look back now, no more spoilers, I promise. Raaphorst is, I'd say, understandably a bit annoyed about all this. He said, "It's really hard to actually think about something that communicates as a cool design. It's not just that ideas are floating around that you can grab. It's actually hard labour. Then they just grab it and put it somewhere in the game. It's creative abuse. If they had asked me, hey Richard, we'd love to have your design in our next Resident Evil, and we will give you a credit or some kind of royalty payment, I would have been honoured and flattered and proud. It would have been a super positive experience." Of course, we all know that this isn't exactly the first time that a video game has been accused of directly plagiarising a movie monster villain. Dun 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 dun. I had to sing it rather than just play the audio clip just to be safe for YouTube's copyright system. In 1982, Universal Pictures took Nintendo to court over similarities between their popular movie monster, King Kong, and Nintendo's latest arcade smash hit, Donkey Kong. Universal claimed that in designing Donkey Kong, up-and-coming game developer Shigeru Miyamoto, who has ever heard of him again, had infringed both the design and the story of the most famous of Kongs. The court ruled in Nintendo's favour, setting something of a precedent for video game developers helping themselves to movie ideas and getting away with it. Judge Robert W. Sweet specifically ruled that, quote, "At best, Donkey Kong is a parody of King Kong," noting that Donkey Kong is, quote, "comical, farcical, childlike, and non-sexual." So there we have it. Nintendo's future might well have turned out very differently if Judge Sweet had been a furry. Hideo Kojima, noted cinephile and Mads Mikkelsen stan, once barely dodged a lawsuit over Solid Snake, a character who is very clearly modelled after Snake Plissken from John Carpenter's Escape from New York. According to Carpenter himself, Canal Plus wanted to also go after the video game Metal Gear Solid, which is kind of a rip-off of Escape from New York too, but I told them not to do that. I know the director of those games, and he's a nice guy. Or at least he's nice to me. I like that Kojima was allowed to get away with copying Snake Plissken primarily because he's just a nice guy. That makes me happy for just, so many reasons. Most recently we've got Fortnite, which stole from PlayerUnknown's Battleground, which in turn stole from Battle Royale, the manga and movie about a bunch of school children who parachute into a battlefield from a flying bus so that they can compete to win a chicken dinner. Did I get that right? I honestly haven't seen Battle Royale. The point is, video games have a tendency to borrow ideas, characters, and sometimes entire storylines, if you can count Donkey Kong as a storyline, from movies. And in most high-profile cases, video game developers are able to get away with it. And perhaps that's fair enough. In most of these cases, the similarities are primarily superficial. Anyone can wear an eye patch and name themselves after a limbless reptile. Anyone can force 50 to 100 people to battle to the death. And as long as a monkey isn't too attractive, all is good. But with Sturm, Capcom created a boss fight that plays out almost identically to Frankenstein's Army. If this is a coincidence, it's a big one. There's a good argument to be made that the two works are similar enough to constitute copyright infringement. If this were to go to court, which it might well not because typically only very wealthy people are in a position to pay for legal fees necessary to sue someone for copyright infringement, Capcom would need to prove either A, that nobody involved in the game had ever seen Frankenstein's Army and therefore couldn't have copied it. This is a hard thing to prove, because how do you prove evidence of not watching something? Or B, that Sturm is distinct enough from the Frankenstein's Army monster that it constitutes fair use. Sturm needs to be quantifiably transformative, a la Donkey Kong. This will be hard to assert, as both characters are equally sexy. I wonder if the Donkey Kong case would have been treated the same way now, to be honest, with modern graphics. Part of the reason why Nintendo got off the hook is that games of the time were somewhat less cinematic, which is a word I hate for describing games, but it does make sense in this context. Nobody is going to confuse an 8-bit arcade game with a black and white stop-motion monster movie. They are incredibly dissimilar. This defence has dissipated in recent years as game developers have strived to make games look as much like movies as possible, for better or worse. But then I'm not exactly inclined to take Capcom's side on a copyright case, considering that the last time I made a video about Resident Evil Village, the company used YouTube's Content ID system to claim the revenue. Thanks, Capcom. In truth, the copyright systems that exist in countries all over this planet are broken. As I said a hot minute ago, copyright law exists primarily to serve wealthy companies, and there's less resources for smaller entities, such as directors of obscure Dutch horror movies, to fight the power. So regardless of whether or not I personally think that Capcom plagiarised Frankenstein's army in the design of the Sturm boss fight, the company may well be able to get away with it simply because they've got the legal force to keep a lawsuit at bay. And in the process, perhaps the court will find that Mr. Burns is clearly Bart Simpson's biological father, if you catch my drift. Regardless, you can look out for my new action horror game coming 2022, starring my totally original character, Jill Sandwich. Do not steal. But what do you think? Did Capcom plagiarise Frankenstein's army? Or is this just an enormous coincidence? Let me know in the comments and have a lovely day. Go on, I dare you.